Oh, I've got a few reactions. Thank you. And before we start today's presentation, it's very important that we do an acknowledgement of traditional lands. Royal Road University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Esquimalt and the Songhees ancestors and families who have lived here for thousands of years. This land has been part of the fabric of the Indigenous communities long before Hatley Castle was built, and it will be long into the future. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. And today's session is the MBA Specializations for Personalized Education. I'm so pleased to welcome Dr. Charles Krusekopf, the MBA program head, Dr. Zoë MacLeod, the Associate Vice President of Professional and Continuing Studies, Andrea Torres, the Recruitment Manager, and my name is Yumara Angus, and I'm an Education Advisor. Today's agenda, a welcome and a quick get to know you. So I'm going to launch a very quick poll here. And it's we're just interested in getting to know the people in the room a bit more and what program delivery you're interested in. And we will be going more into detail about program delivery throughout today's session. So if you're not sure, there's a button for that, but let me launch the poll right now. Awesome. So you should see the poll up on your screen right now. And the question is, which MBA program delivery are you interested in? And the options that you can choose from are blended delivery, 18-month, blended delivery, 31-month, on-campus delivery, 18-month, and not sure yet. And the cool feature is you can actually select more than one. So if you're kind of on the fence between the 18 and the 31-month, you can select that. Awesome. So I'll give it a few more seconds here so you can get your vote in. Wonderful. So I see that 56% of the people here are interested in the blended delivery 18-month, 33% are interested in the blended delivery 31-month. Pardon me, 33% of people are interested in the on-campus delivery 18-month, and then we have 11% not sure yet. Awesome. Thank you so much for participating. And we'll also do a quick overview of Royal Roads University experience, how the MBA personalizes your education, MBA specializations, application process and requirement, and questions answered throughout. How does that sound? Do you want to give me a thumbs up if everybody's happy with the agenda? I also just want an excuse for you to press the reaction button. Awesome, thumbs up, great. I will keep going. Awesome, so Victoria, BC, that is where we're located. And we're on an island, Vancouver Island, with a population of about 750,000 people. And the closest largest cities are Vancouver and Seattle. The top three industries in Victoria are advanced technology, tourism and hospitality, and education, and are one of the mildest climates in Canada. You can go for a hike or a walk or a bike ride almost any time of year. It's beautiful outside. We don't get as much rain as Vancouver, so that's always a great reason as well to come to Victoria. And at Royal Roads University, we really value first names first. That's important to us. And we do our best to learn your first name very fast. We also believe in the real world classroom, that idea that there's not a division between learning between the real world and the classroom. It's integrated, it's together. And we believe in learning together forever. And that is why we have a cohort model. And you'll see through our flexible admission policy that we really take life as an education and see that life is also an education. And here are some images. On the top left is Hatley Castle. You might even recognize Hatley Castle from movies such as X-Men and Deadpool. Do you recognize it? Give me a party emoji in reaction if you do recognize Hatley Castle from any movies. And you can give me a thumbs up if you're planning on watching the movies later today to see if you can point out Hatley Castle. Awesome. And then on the top right is a Esquimalt Lagoon, and you can actually see this beautiful lagoon from campus. And then the bottom left is one of my personal trails on favorite trails on campus to go for a walk. That's Charlie's Trail. It's beautiful for a lunchtime walk and really easy to get to. And at Royal Roads University, we have been teaching online and doing online learning for over 25 years. And we're also a Changemaker campus. We're an Ashoka U Changemaker campus. And we're recognized for being leaders in change and social innovation. And the Ashoka U Changemaking is a global network of more than 40 universities and colleges committed to advancing social innovation and change making. And now I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Charles Krusekopf, and he will be talking to you about program structure.
Hey, hello everyone. Yes, I'm coming from Metchosin, BC. So just outside Victoria, just on the west side of Victoria. And I put a picture up here of my the beach across the street, Whitty's Lagoon. Anyone's been over to Whitty's Lagoon. So I am going to be going over the program structure. In my background, I'm actually studied economics, international economics and business, and teach in the program in several courses related to international business. And then also I created the Asia Pacific Trade and Investment Specialization, which is one of the specialization options that we'll talk about taking students to Asia. So we've got a couple of people from Bangladesh and India. I've been to India, but it's a long way to take students just for a study tour for a couple of weeks. So we've been tending to go to East Asia, different cities in East Asia, but it's one of the opportunities that you'll have within the program. And we're planning for the return to travel and potentially doing that trip in spring 2022. So now I'm going to go over just the general aspects of the program. And these are true no matter which version of the program. The program is the same. You take the same courses in terms of the content of the courses and the content of the program, no matter which option you choose, whether that's the 18 or 31-month blended program or the 18-month on-campus program, which is a new offering. For the first time, we're going to have an on-campus program offering, which will start online in November and then start on campus in January 2022. But no matter which program offering you do, you will take the same set of courses, and I'll go through those. The blended offerings have two, basically 3-week residencies. Right now, of course, because of the pandemic, and for the past year and a half, all of our residencies have been online. So everything has been online, although every cohort, as I think about it and work through it, every cohort will have at least one on-campus experience, because we're expecting to return to campus later this fall and with a full on-campus residencies starting again in January 2022. So if you're coming into the July intake this summer, that first experience, first term will be online, and then you would do your second final residency either roughly 18 months or 2 years later if you're in the 31-month program to finish your program. So those will be back on campus. We all trust that the pandemic will be under control by that time. If you're in the blended program, between residencies, you'll do different courses online. For all programs, most of the specialization options that you have are online or a mix of blended coursework, as we will talk about, which means short residencies and then some online courses. So we are excited to launch our on-campus program, which will include approximately a year of on-campus starting you'll start on campus in January, and then spend about a year on our beautiful campus here in Victoria, completing the coursework for the program. And then you will write your organizational management project, as I'll talk about after that. So that's our new on-campus program launching this fall. Next. So within the program, I mean, any MBA program is going to have quite a bit of overlap in terms of the courses that you take. What's different, and as you all have seen with our MBA program, is our MBA program is somewhere, there are executive MBA programs. Ours is an MBA in executive management. And so that means that many executive MBA programs can be a bit shorter, a bit less academically rigorous, but they're meant for very experienced mid-career, late career professionals who are interested in doing those programs. So what we've sort of done is blended the executive MBA and a traditional MBA so that you still get in our program the academic rigor and the full involvement and full experience of the coursework in the program. But we have somewhat unusual for almost any MBA program in Canada or even in other countries, you know, a minimum experience of at least 7 years of work experience with some management and leadership experience as well. So this means that the cohort of people that you will come into the program with are all also experienced managers and leaders in organizations. And I always say organizations because I would say maybe half of our students work for businesses, companies, small companies, sometimes their own company, a family company, or sometimes large multinational companies. And half work for organizations, for government, for nonprofits, for educational institutions, et cetera, in different roles. And the MBA can be very helpful in both environments. And so our MBA, with this focus, the average age of people in the program is about 40. So with the people in the program having significant experience, and 7 years is the minimum, most people have 15 years or so of experience, you can imagine the cohort of people has a lot of experience in terms of their work experience, their life experience, the things that they've sort of seen and experienced. And so that builds a really interesting and strong cohort. So you get a diversity of people from across different industry areas, across different business specializations, from HR, operations, IT, accounting and finance, and everyone is in the program as a generalist program together. So you really benefit from the knowledge of your classmates. You'll be working on teams. If HR is not something that you have a big, strong background in, you will really be working with people who are professional HR managers. On the other hand, you'll be working with IT professionals. You'll be working with people and more on the finance accounting side. And you'll work very closely. We do a lot of teamwork and a real team-oriented presentations and activities in the courses. And so it really allows you to work together and build your network and support. And finally, because our program is meant for the blended program for people who are working full-time, and for our on-campus program for people who have significant experience and often are looking to come into the Canadian work environment or an international work environment, you know, we always teach, we have experienced practitioners teaching and looking at how you can really apply what we're doing in the classroom, what you're learning, what you're experiencing in the program directly into your work situation. So just think of our program, our MBA is really a program that you really will build this strong cohort, make strong connections with your other classmates, learn from them, work closely with them, and have a network that you have for life. If you watch some of our webinars of where we have the alumni in, you know, they often talk about that, the close connections that they build in the program and how those continue on through their careers. Okay, next slide, please. So some of the key elements in the program that we talk about and that students relate. So one is the organizational management project. So everyone in the program will complete a major research project for their own company or organization or another organization. That sometimes we will help you find that. Sometimes you have the contacts and connections, and you'll take courses in the program to help you build your research skills, your ability to develop your projects, to work with your client, in this case, as you develop this project. And this is a real research project. So it's a bit different than just being a consultant or different types of reports you've written. You'll do research, and our students say, you know, that research skills and the research abilities are really make a difference, because as you go forward, when you come into a meeting at work and you want to present an idea or you want to support an idea, having those research skills, having the research done ahead of time that you can present and say, here are, you know, some sources of information and data and arguments that really back up the point that I'm trying to make. People say that really, you know, it went from being, well, I would make presentations, but people would start asking questions and maybe I didn't have a lot of data to support my point. But now I've learned how to really build a really strong case, critical thinking skills, those presentation skills, et cetera. So those are skills that we really emphasize, and that the OMP as a research project is one of the ways you work on that. We have a live business challenge in both the first residency period and in the second residency. And even if those residencies are online, we've continued that. We've brought in companies who do presentations about their companies. And it's not that the companies say, here are our problems, you need to solve these. It's that the companies present about their work, and you, working with your team and your classmates, do an analysis of the company and say, okay, here are some internal ideas that we would have in terms of your HR, your structures of your organization that we might suggest, building off of what we've learned, both in our work world and in our personal experience. And then here's some external ideas. What kind of markets? How do you market your product? How do you build new business areas off of what you're already doing? So these live business challenges allow you to take what you're doing in your classroom and really apply them into companies and work together again with your teammates and your cohort on those issues. So here are just a few of the classes that are in the program. Really, many MBA programs have, you know, a similar set of classes in a way. As I say, this is a full MBA program where you take a range of classes, really get the full scope of organizations, build your leadership and management skills, and prepare yourself for the next levels in your career. Next slide, please. So our session today is really focused on specializations. So every student in the program will do one specialization. So the specialization options that we have, this is a new innovation that we've brought in over the last year or two, where we really opened up the number of specialization options that you have. So my colleague, Zoë MacLeod, is going to talk about specialization options that are offered outside of the School of Business or outside of the MBA program, because Royal Roads has a wide range of graduate certificates in different areas, as you'll hear and will be presented. And so within the program, I'm going to talk about the specializations within the MBA program, where we also offer graduate certificates, but through courses that we manage from within the program. And I'll also talk a little bit about our MIT partnership that we have. So you can do MIT MicroMaster specialization options. Basically, almost all of these options allow you to achieve a graduate certificate. So you receive dual credentials. You'll get your MBA, plus you'll get the credential of a graduate certificate. And many of those graduate certificates are associated with professional accreditation. So management consulting is one of ours. The certified management consulting recognizes our management consulting specialization for their professional CMC, certified management consulting designation. Okay, next slide, please. So I'll start with the specializations kind of outside RRU. So this is a partnership that I helped build together with MITX. If you're familiar with edX and the MOOC environment that they built through edX, they now have created what they call MicroMasters. And that's where you take a series of these MOOC classes from MITX that you do online, and then you take a test, a proctored exam, to get credit for the work that you've done. And when you finish approximately 5 of these classes, as they designate within their programs, you receive a MicroMaster credential. And so we're recognizing these MicroMaster credentials as specializations. And so you would not need to take, we would recognize 9 credits or 3 courses into the MBA program for completing this program with MIT. Now, we chose these because these are areas, supply chain management, statistics and data science, for example, that are highly technical. These are offered by the MIT engineering departments and their statistics departments. So these are for people who are really interested and have the advanced math and advanced sort of engineering background where they would really benefit from a deep dive into these topics. What we found is these and they're really set up that you would do this program prior to coming into our MBA program. So a way some people complete this MITX MicroMaster, and then they're interested to transfer those into the program. What's challenging, because each of these programs last for maybe a year at least, and they're very heavy course load, it's virtually impossible, students have found, to do them while you're doing your other MBA coursework. So it's possible because they're MOOCs and you can take them online, but it's difficult because it's a very heavy and technical workload and too much to do together with the program. So if you want to do a program like this prior to coming in, that's a possibility. And same with graduate certificates, as Zoe will present and talk about. You know, the graduate certificates, you can complete those prior to coming in the MBA program and transfer those credits into the MBA program. And if you already have a graduate certificate from Royal Roads, that's a possibility as well. So if you're interested in this, you know, raise the questions. I'm happy to talk with you further about it. It's offered through MIT. They're the ones who schedule the classes, do all of the work around it. You can look at their site and see what's there. And I'm happy to talk with you and sort of strategize around bringing that into the MBA program. Next, please. So these are the specializations that I would say the majority of our students within MBA have been doing, because these have been the long-time specializations offered within the RRU MBA program. So we, within the program, schedule these graduate certificates that are offered by the MBA program. We schedule them, and most of the students taking them are the students from MBA. And there's really 3 different options. The first is a management consulting, as I mentioned, and management consulting has been a very popular option for people. This allows people, if you have, you know, some consulting and project management experience, you're thinking about becoming an internal consultant or setting up your own management consulting field. Sometimes people have a great deal of work experience. They're looking to transition to become a more independent sort of contractor as a consultant, or within their organization, this management consulting can be helpful within their current role or industry. So we are partnered very closely with the CMC Canada, the Certified Management Consulting Organization of Canada. And I understand we are the #1 sort of educational partner of CMC in terms of the number of students who get their CMC accreditation in Canada. So Royal Roads MBA students, even though we're not nearly the largest business school or MBA program, we're oversized in terms of the number of people who get their CMC accreditation through typically doing this management consulting specialization within the program. Another one that we offer internally is leadership. Our program really emphasizes, because management and leadership skills are very important for the people with, you know, a great deal of experience and who are looking to advance themselves in their careers or shift to new areas. They want to build their leadership skills, and it's very important. So my colleague, Carolyn Recker-Monroe, has created this leadership focus, and there's really 2 main courses here in the leadership area around emotional intelligence and then global leadership. And so the leadership specialization is also one that has been quite popular. The third one is this international business option. Each intake has one option. It depends on the timing, basically, of the study tours that are associated with that. So if you come in the July intake, you will be on track when you do your specialization. So you do your specializations in an 18-month program. approximately 1 year into the program. So basically in this case, you start in July, you have your residency in August, and 1 year later in September, you would be ready for your specialization time period. And we've partnered with the Grenoble School of Management in France, and they deliver a 2-week program on innovation management in Grenoble, beautiful city in the Alps, and the opportunity to meet European business leaders, the European faculty who lead this. Everyone says it's a fantastic experience going over to Grenoble. I've created, and my background is in Asia Pacific, and the Asia Pacific, we call it APTI, Asia Pacific Trade and Investment, where we do some online coursework looking at understanding different Asian countries, because of course, operating in India is very different than Japan, it's very different than China or Korea. So we look at some of the differences in the business environment between different countries, differences in how the economies are structured, the governments are structured, and then we go for about 10 days on site. So we usually do a pair of cities. We've done Shanghai and Seoul, or Hong Kong and Tokyo. This coming year, we're looking at Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, and then Singapore, for example. So every year we will do a different pair of cities and go and spend 10 days meeting companies, business leaders, local businesses, Canadian businesses, big companies from Canada like Canadian Tire, looking at their supply chain, visiting their suppliers, understanding their supply chain management, how they do quality control, all of these aspects on the ground in Asia, and really get a great feel for what's going on in some select countries in Asia. Next slide, please. So with that, that's one set of options that you have. The other options, you can do a graduate certificate from another department at Royal Roads. And I will turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Zoë MacLeod, who will lead you through the professional and continuing studies and the other graduate certificates that are offered at Royal Roads.
Thanks so much, Charles. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your interest in learning more about the specializations for the MBA. I hope that you're all healthy and safe and able to enjoy a bit of the changing of the season wherever you are. It's finally warm and sunny here, as Amara mentioned, and we're ready for it. My name is Zoë MacLeod. I'm the Associate Vice President for Professional and Continuing Studies here at Royal Roads. And just a quick kind of overview of our portfolio in case it's helpful in terms of context. It's quite broad. So we do everything from short 1-day, currently virtual courses to 4-week online professional advancement offerings to 6-month graduate level certificate and even 12-month diploma programs and almost everything in between, including micro-credentials, professional certificates, in-community programming, and customized programs for organizations. So it's quite a broad portfolio, and we spend a lot of time working with organizations, really thinking about their needs and making sure that we are able to provide relevant programming for organizational life. So certainly career paths are being altered by the pandemic and the impact of labor market disruption. That may even be why you're here today. There is definitely an increasing need for us to be thinking about lifelong learning, maybe upskilling, reskilling, or taking a new career path. It's going to be vital for all of us to continue learning, and for those of us in the workforce to navigate changes constantly, and for those who are entering or re-entering to be ready with skills and knowledge to be successful as we navigate the future of work. So I'll just continue on to the next slide. At Professional and Continuing Studies, our goal is really to offer short, relevant, flexible learning opportunities that align with your personal and professional needs and aspirations. And our entire unit is dedicated to ensuring that our courses and programs are really immediately applicable to your work, yet future-oriented so that you are ready to take on what comes next, whatever that might look like. None of us are able to predict that these days. We work with organizations and industry partners to ensure that the programming is aligned with leading practices in the profession, whichever one you are selecting, whether it's leading change, leading innovation, leading projects, or leading people. And as Charles has indicated, we have a number of programs that you can choose to complement your MBA journey. graduate certificates are almost a microcosm of the larger master's programs. And we'll talk a little bit more about the structure as we move forward. Next slide, please. So, however, whether you decide to do a program before, during, or after your program, as Charles had alluded to, you will join other professionals who are looking to advance their skill set within a specific niche. So if you decide to do a graduate certificate that's outside of your MBA journey, if you will, one of the professional continuing studies offerings, you then kind of jump into a new cohort for that offering. So it does allow you to broaden your network as well, and specifically in specific areas. And Charles may have already alluded to this in the chat, but thinking about you specifically, Rob, around the science and policy of climate change, that may well be an opportunity. It doesn't sit within our portfolio, but it's certainly another opportunity. So essentially, you have the opportunity here to stack your credentials and add new knowledge, skills, and abilities to your own resume and your own plan for advancement. We'll go to the next slide, please. So as mentioned, there's currently, I think, over 20 different graduate certificate options at Railroads, and many offer a fast track towards professional credentials. The ones on this slide highlight a few that are trending from the professional and continuing studies side. And we are creating new programs regularly and expect to add others. We're working on a couple right now around financing social impact and perhaps Indigenous economic development, as Charles and I are working through that program. The majority of our programs, however, are aligned with an industry association, like the International Coaching Federation for the Executive Coaching Program, or the Association of Change Management Professionals for the Change Management Program, etc. All of the programs are designed to provide you with knowledge and applied skills, but also connect you to the professional organizations that live on after you leave RRU. These organizations are often where you will find your like-minded colleagues, and they are also dedicated to keeping up with trends and practices to help you stay current. If there's something that you don't see here, but you think you would be relevant for your needs, let us know. You're likely not alone, and others may also be interested. And we'll do some research, and maybe we'll be next on the list for development as a specialization with the MBA. We won't go into all of the details of these programs, but we can certainly have conversations after the session, or if you have questions about any of the specific certificates, please let us know. You can contact an enrollment advisor and have deeper conversations, or you can reach out to us and or me at any time. Next slide, please. So you'll see that we actually have a typical structure for a graduate certificate. All of them are 3 courses or 9 graduate level credits at Railroads. And yet here's where we're seeing a little bit of deviation. Typically, we offer them blended, other than workplace innovation, which has always been totally online, with a short residency at the front and even a shorter residency at the end. And at the moment, our programs still kind of remain blended, just more virtually blended. So right now we have, where we had an on-campus portion of a program, we've effectively transitioned to having a virtual residency. So if we had a 5-day residency at the very beginning, it's a 5-day virtual residency. And we're really having good success with this model. So we may elect to keep some offerings in this modality for the future. We're certainly thinking about some of those transitions. Certainly as we transition back to on-campus programming, it's likely we'll consider a virtual offering for at least the final residency, so students can maybe reduce some costs for travel. And we'll see. We're watching and we're learning as we go. And of course, we have you at the heart. And if you are telling us that it's too much to travel too much these days, then we're working to see what we can do to adapt. So I'll stop here, pass it back to Amara or Andrea, I think, who's going to talk a little bit about the application process.
Thank you, Zoe. So now I'm going to walk everybody through the application process. Next slide, please. So for the MBA, at Railroads, we are always looking through standard and flexible admissions. However, when you are applying to the program, you don't have to click or check any of the boxes. The person that is assessing your application will decide if you are coming through standard or flexible admissions. And also, when something in the application maybe doesn't make sense for us, we will reach out to you to make sure that we are kind of understanding the full picture of your application. So the people that are coming through standard admissions are people that normally have completed 4 years or comparable undergrad degree from a recognized post-secondary institution. And at least they have normally 7 years of full-time work experience with 3 years at the management level. And we always want to see that increasing levels of responsibility. And it's a competitive admissions process. Next slide. For flexible admissions are people that maybe didn't have those 4 years of undergrad degree, but they have been working for many years. Well, they have many years of work experience. So we want applicants that show an evidence of having sufficient knowledge, skills, and abilities to be able to complete successfully and a demanding academic program. And they have the capacity to be successful at the master level. So for those applicants, we are always looking for a minimum of 10 years of full-time relevant work experience with at least 5 years at the management level. And once again, we want to see that increasing level of responsibility. And when we talk about management, is managing people, managing budgets, managing projects. So for you, some of you, that management experience might look slightly different. And it's key for the application, through the application process, that you show us how that management level looks like. Next slide, please. So for students that we also Royal Roads through actually professional and continuous studies, we have academic writing and critical thinking and accounting courses. Those courses are developed to support your return to school. So if you have been out of school from a long period of time and you want to maybe get that academic writing and critical thinking skills great to be able to succeed with your program, we highly recommend to people to complete one of these programs. We have students in the past that we would not recommend to complete it, but they did it just for personal growth and just to make sure that they were ready before the program. And they found that those courses helped them to be successful in the program. So highly recommended. If you're curious to learn more, please, as our Tracy Summers will be happy to share those links with you in our chat box, so you can take a look and and check those courses out. Both programs are offered fully online. Next slide, please. As well, if English is not your first language, we require people to submit an official English language test. So there's a few options available for you. So if you are an international student, or maybe you are already a permanent resident in Canada, but English is not your first language, please reach out to us because there's a few options available for you. Next slide. So the key dates for the blended program, our start date is July 19, either or for the 18 and the 31 months. And the application deadline is coming up very soon, so it's April 19. So if you're interested to our next intake, we highly recommend to start your application as soon as possible and start completing those the documents that are required to complete your application. For the on-campus program, 18 months, our next start date is November 29th, and the deadline will be June 25th. Next slide. So now how to apply. First, you need to complete an online application. And after that, you need to submit the following documents. The first document are official transcripts. We will ask you for submit any official transcripts from any post-secondary institution you have completed. So let's say if you did 2 years of a college and then you transfer to another institution, we will ask for both of those official transcripts. Due to COVID, a lot of institutions are sending those official transcripts by email directly to us. So if you have that option, please, that will be an easy way for you to complete that first task. The next one is a detailed resume. For a detailed resume, we really want, I think this is the first document for you to tell us the story about your career and your professional path. So there's a few things that we want to learn about it. We want to know about your credit education. Once again, any undergrad, or maybe if you have completed any graduate certificate or postgraduate diplomas, we want to see all the information about those courses. We also want to know about your work experience. In the work experience, it's very important that you give us not only the title or the name of your role, but also the time that you were in each of the roles and a small description of what that role means for you. Let's say some roles as a coordinator, you might be managing budgets. So it's very important that you give us an explanation of each of your roles. It can be done by bullet points or a small paragraph. The next piece that we want to know is about any volunteer experience, if you're part of any association, and any information that you think will be relevant for us to know. So as you can see, we're asking for a lot of details. So this is not a professional business resume that normally is 2 pages. Some people might take 4+ pages, and that is okay because we want to know the full story about your professional career. The next document, I am a Royal Roads grad from a different business program at Royal Roads, and I always said that the personal statement was my favorite document when I applied to Royal Roads. And the reason of that is because it gave me a time to pause and ask myself, why do I want to apply to this program? Why are Royal Roads? How this program is going to help me to move and advance my career? What do I have to offer to my classmates? And there are specific questions in our website that we ask you to respond, but basically we want to know is how the experience that you had, if you had any experience with distance education. So I know my colleague Tracy will be a great resource for you if you have any questions about that personal statement, but you can also find all the information in our website. The next document is a writing sample. And there are 3 options how you can submit that writing sample. One, it can be a recent academic sample that you have wrote in the last 2 years. If you don't have one of those documents, we ask you to write a document at least 500 words and a statement. We want you to respond about the question, what is my management and or leadership philosophy? Once again, all of this information is described with more details in our website. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out or to visit our website. The last 2 documents are 2 letters of reference. I always recommend, if you feel comfortable, please share your personal statement with the people that are writing those letters, or maybe just have a one-on-one conversation of why do you want to apply to this program, so those people can highlight why you are a great candidate for this MBA program at Royal Roads University. Those letters can be one professional and one academic. If you have been out of school for a long time, it can be always 2 professional letters as well as a personal letter. Those letters of reference, they have to come from a professional email. So let's say from Royal Roads or another professional email versus a personal email. And next slide, please. Financial aid. So financial aid is a very common question that people say, like, what opportunities are available for us? And at Royal Roads, we have a team that will be happy to provide all that information. We have a financial aid website at Royal Roads that we will find a lot of details about what bursaries, what awards, and what other options might be available for you, depending on the option that you pick online versus blended versus on campus, and based on the province, or if you are a domestic versus an international student. So please reach out to our financial aid team, and they will be happy to assist you and support you through that process. But I highly recommend that please reach out if you have any questions, either to our financial aid team, and if you have any questions about the application components, Tracy Sommer and her team will be a great resource for you. Next slide. So enrollment services. So if you're a domestic student, Canadian citizen, or a permanent resident, we have an enrollment team that would be happy to support you. So you can reach out to learn that more at royalroads.ca. If you are an international team, we have a team of experts that will be able to assist you and help you through the application process. To reach out to that team, you can reach out to them and learn that more, that international at royalroads.ca. Next slide. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Imara, that she's going to walk us through the questions. Thank you, Mara.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Zoe. That was very informative. And I see lots of questions being asked in the chat and answered in the chat. I wanted to open up the floor to you, Charles and Zoe, and see if there's anything else that you wanted to add about today's session.
Yeah, I can address Suzanne's question. She had one on this more admissions related, and I'll let my admissions colleagues maybe follow up in the chat. But then your question about the time commitment. So one, I will say from the start, I haven't taken the program. I only teach in the program. But from what I understand with the students, you will be in the 18-month blended program. You will be taking 2 online courses at a time, and so you'll probably need to schedule, and the weeks are a bit variable. And I will say, I am actually taking a Royal Roads graduate certificate in executive coaching right now. So I'm a student at Royal Roads and taking one course now. There's definitely, each week we have team meetings. We have the session that we have, our class session. So I would say weekly you will have usually, say, 1 hour in the evenings Pacific time. We usually schedule those, say, around 6 o'clock, 6 to 7. Say, you'll have a class meeting. Then, as I say, then you'll have your 1 day a week, and then you'll have also your teamwork, and then you'll have an assignment. So those weeks in which you have assignments often take, you're going to put in more effort and more work on that. And in a typical class, you'll have 1 to 2 individual assignments and a team assignment. So, I think the guidance, my admissions colleagues can say, I think we say, is it 20 hours a week roughly that you need to commit? But I think the students would say it's a bit more of a roller coaster. Some weeks you have to put in a lot more than that, and some weeks it's a bit less. I will say that the completion rates overall for the program, and this is partly the cohort model, the completion rates for the program are very high. So those people who come in the program, you're in this cohort, and your team, and I've experienced it in my program, it's really your team that helps you get through. It's your team you turn to first when you say, now what's due this week? What do we got to do? What are the key readings? Which readings did you find really interesting? And how did those help you? What are you using? What are you using for your assignment to prepare? Those sorts of things. You have a lot of discussions with your classmates, and you really work together and try to help each other and get each other through the program. So more students do the 18-month than the 31-month, sometimes thinking, can I drop back? If I start 18 months and it's just too much, can I drop back? And the answer is yes, it's the same program. In the 31-month program, you're just doing, in a way, fewer online courses. So instead of having 2 online courses at one time, you typically only have 1 online course at a time. So it just takes you more months to complete the program, because some of the courses that the 18-month students are taking, you'll take later in your program. So you can change from one option to the other if your life changes. You can sometimes take if you have to, a leave of absence or something. We work with professionals, and so people have a lot of life things coming up, and we're very flexible in terms of trying to work with people to help you get through the program and make sure you get through. But you're in a cohort, and so I always liken the cohort to a train. You're on the train, and people don't let you fall off the train. They sometimes you think, I want to get off, but people say, no, we're going to make it through this. We'll make it through this assignment. We'll make it through. You have a very busy time at work. The teammates will jump in and help you out more, and then you contribute more maybe at another time. So I think that's something that really helps people getting through the program. And yes, the question about, in terms of the residencies, during the time period that we have labeled a residency on campus, so starting in January 2022, when we say 3 weeks residency on campus, those are full on, and people, it's not just the 9 to 5 where you have classes all day, but you have teamwork and team assignments. And even people who live in Victoria often maybe come and stay in the dorms or stay, sort of check them. You have to check yourself out from your other duties during that time period. When we do the online, so in July, when we have the intake and both 31-month and 18-month, you're going to have an online residency. We kind of stretch that intense time period. We have about a week at the start, which to really get you oriented, to get you know the classmates, to really do some of the background and fundamental work. You'll have an intensive time period where you're working intensively and basically checking out of your other duties. For the other weeks, it's about 10 weeks listed for the residency time period. For the other weeks, people are typically working, continue to work full time. It's just you're going to be carrying a pretty good course load through that time period. So the first period of the program, we've worked it out. We've done this now 3 times online. It's worked well. People are amazed. I'm amazed. I'm doing my program fully online. People are amazed at how well you get to know, you bond with your classmates as my teammates that I know so well. I've never met them actually in person. We only have met on Zoom and through exercises, yet you're really able to bond. And then when we move back after January to where we have our residencies on campus, that's a time that you really meet and get to know your classmates. And then when you move online, you know everyone, you know the people in your course, in your program, and you'll all support each other. The on-campus program will have about 3 classes each week. So about 9 or so class hours, plus the extra work of teamwork and homework and different things that you'll have outside of that as well. So each term you'll have approximately 3 classes, 10 or 15 hours of coursework on campus, plus all the other work that you'll be doing. Yeah, and we can connect you. So we don't have any students. You can see some of our other webinars. We often have alumni or students who have contributed in those webinars, and I would encourage you to watch. The recordings are up, and Mara's nodding her head. She's going to tell you where to find them if you haven't found them already. And if you have special interests or even want to explore some of the specializations, we just had a specialization information session where we brought in students and the faculty who teach and have studied in each of the specializations to talk with the students as they're thinking about which specialization to choose. You don't have to choose your specialization now. You choose your specialization later after you enter into the program. So we will give you more information. You'll have the chance to meet and talk with people and learn more and think through those different options.
Thank you, Charles. And I offered the raise hand function if anybody wants to verbally ask a question. And Rob, I see that you raised your hand. Would you like to ask a question?
Thank you, Amara, but Charles actually just answered it. I was going to ask when we need to decide about our specialization, because it sounds like there's so many great options. I would, yeah, I think I'd be loath to do my specialization first and then do the MBA program and find out there's something I'm very passionate about that came up. So it's good to hear that you can decide later on. So thank you.
Yeah, and a couple of questions because I posed that out there. Anyone who is thinking about, many people, and I'll say over half of the students in this program, in the blended program, don't have a full undergraduate degree always. They have a lot of work experience, but they have different types of associate degree. A number of people come from the military or from other backgrounds that they don't necessarily always have completed an undergrad degree. That hasn't been a barrier. We haven't seen any problems, although important for you to take those continuing studies classes as you prepare to come in. But the graduate certificates as a kind of stepping stone or testing grounds is there as well. So some people say, I've been out of school so long, or I'm really kind of intimidated. I'm not sure. We call it the imposter syndrome. You're not sure, can you really do this? You know, one way to try it without saying I'm fully committed to the MBA or another master's is to enroll in a graduate certificate and work through that. You'll get the feel for how the courses work, how Moodle works, how a distance or blended based program works. And then you can transfer 3 courses or 9 credits into the MBA program. That means you will not take those 9 credits. So when you see the tuition price for MBA, that is for 51 credits. Now, if you take 9 of those credits before you come in the program, you know, you can take 20% off of the tuition price of the program because you've already paid for and gotten those credits. And you'll transfer those in. So you'll do in the program 42 credits and transfer the 9 credits in. So that's something that people ask about. And if you do a graduate certificate, you don't do extra classes, you don't do anything different, you'll still do the same 51 credits, no matter which version of the program or when you take the specialization.
We have one more question in the chat here. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. The question is, for the blended programs, are there any synchronous scheduled sessions for the online courses, or are they mostly self-study? If you want to speak kind of more about that format.
Yeah, so the online and particularly so for the online intake, so in July, that blended intake, because we're still not back to camp, none of us are in campus, unfortunately. So we're not back to campus, so the residency will be offered in an online virtual format. There will be about a week of programming where it will be full-time. You will be expected to basically take vacation or take a leave from work for that week. Some of those days are on the weekends. We put some of the programming on the weekends, and then you will fully participate from morning until afternoon within that. During the regular online courses that you take and during the latter weeks of that residency, you will just have maybe one session, or in some weeks, no live sessions, but there will be usually, you can count on, in general, each week, say one, so it'll be Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. There will be a live session. Now, if for some reason you can't attend the live session, then it's usually recorded, it's made available to you, you're asked to watch it, maybe provide a short summary of it to show that you engaged with the material. So it's the professor, it's guest speakers, it's class activities, answering questions. It's like this webinar. So we do it through Zoom now mostly, but say once a week, it's kind of a check-in time where you have a chance to ask questions, to talk with your faculty member, et cetera. So, but we typically do them at 5, 6 o'clock, so that on the East Coast it's 9 o'clock. It's not too late, but not too early in our time. So the sessions are usually in the evening so that they don't conflict with people's usual work hours.
Speaking of time, I know we're coming to the end of today's session, and I have one more question in the chat, and then I also want to give an opportunity for Zoe to add anything else at the end of the session that she wants to share with today's group. So the question is, are graduate certificate credits from another institution transferable, or only those credits from Royal Roads business courses?
So Royal Roads graduate certificate courses and credits are transfer into the MBA program. Even if they're taken outside of the MBA program, you can, as long as they're Royal Roads credits. We have not generally recognized credits from other institutions other than the special partnership with MIT, but a lot of people have different courses. Maybe you started even a master's program at another institution. We typically say, so that you're part of our cohort, so that you're fully immersed in our program and that cohort, we don't transfer most of those in. The one exception is people who have their accounting or finance, CPA, CFA, those sorts of certifications. You don't necessarily have to take the accounting and finance classes, but we generally want students to take the full set of classes in the program. So the short answer is no, we do not transfer in those graduate certificate credits from outside of the institution.
Thank you, Charles. And Zoe, I wanted to open up the floor to you to see if there's anything in addition that you'd like to add about today's session.
No, thank you, Amara. It was great to be in conversation with all of you. Of course, if you continue to have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we will look forward to seeing applications and your faces.
Thank you, Zoe, and thank you, Charles and Tracy and Andrea, and thank you everyone here. You can even give me a reaction of a round of applause for our speakers today. And I will be sending a recording of this session to everybody by email. So thank you so much, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.